Welcome, everyone, to Dad's Got Dementia Family Chatter. We are live broadcasting or broadcasting live, and we are focusing on caring for aging parents. Now, on our broadcast, we want to make sure that we are focusing on real conversations with real people about real situations. So today, our special guest is Henry Cantrell. Welcome, Henry.
Hi, thank you.
Yes, I'm excited to have you join us today. You are an old friend, a classmate, and I have known you over the years as a musician. That's what I've always known about you. But over the years, I have just stumbled across your second career, and that is as a caregiver.
Yes, right. Exactly.
And you know what happened? Henry? I work for a company where I'm in and out of the airport all the time. That was pre-COVID, of course.
Right.
So I was doing a lot of traveling, but on Facebook, I would see, in the morning, you're in this state, and in the evening, you're back home. So you could be flying somewhere or, driving somewhere. And at first I was thinking, okay, you're traveling as a musician. But that really wasn't so. You were traveling, caring for people. And it sounds like you were traveling to, to take care of your people. But I want to know how many elderly, before I get into your story, I want to know how many elderly people you have taken care of over time.
Oh man, it's probably, I would say, starting my Uncle West, probably 7, 8 plus relatives and elderly relatives, and yeah, probably so.
Okay, so that's that's not normal, right?
No, it's not. I don't think anybody I know has that. Only maybe one person.
I don't know anybody that has that as like a second job.
No, it's more like a main job, but it was my job was the second job.
Okay. So because you had so many like relatives, and I think you took care of a couple family friends too here and there.
I have, that's true.
Henry, that really is not normal. That's just not normal. But hey, we need people like you. So talk about and tell us how old you were when you started. Like, because you couldn't have just, those many relatives, you couldn't have started, in your adult life for sure.
Probably when I was about 15, 16 years old, helping my grandmother with my uncle from Augusta. Yeah, okay. So probably.
Was that kind of when it started at 15, or did you have? Go ahead.
That's probably when it started like that, being a little bit more responsible, and while they would, get some sleep, and I was, kind of the person on duty, so to speak, to, watch. So that's probably where I really got my real start in being a little more responsible for someone.
Okay. So I know you told me about early on, your grandparents would do a weekly or a monthly check-in on a number of elderly people, and you had to tag along.
Yeah, they my grandparents were members of their church, and my grandfather was an elder and board chairman and all this kind of stuff. But they would visit. At the church they had the sick list, what you call the sick list. So I assume that, certain elders divided it up. I'm not sure how that went, but I would know at least twice a month. My grandparents would go, we'd go home, eat dinner, and then we'd get up and we'd go visit this list of people. And, it'd be about 4 or 5 people that in that afternoon. And they would do this twice a month. A different list, on the second time, but they would do this faithfully, basically my whole life. They until they couldn't go anymore. But they went and visited these people on the sick list, and most of them were pioneers or builders of the church, longtime members. And so that's kind of is the start of it. And along with my grandfather working for Atlanta Housing, he met people and they didn't have relatives, so he would help them out. And my grandmother had friends. She was helping her friends with their parents sometime because they worked. My grandmother worked. She had her own business. And so she could work when, she had a flexible schedule. So she would help her friends take care of their parents and what have you. So, it's was kind of big, as we say, groomed early to that to be a more of a giving spirit and more of a spirit to help. It was natural, it seemed natural, the natural thing to do,
Well, probably right. It probably sounded natural or felt natural to you because that's what you had always done. But I always say that, like, for me, I had never taken care of anyone. I had never worked with anyone sick or old or older, mature, none of that. So it definitely didn't come naturally. And so I feel like because you were kind of brought up that way and you were always around and exposed to that, it probably did come natural to you.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So I have a question for you. This is a trivial question.
Okay.
Time for trivia. What country in East Asia imposed a one child per family law due to overpopulation? Just take a guess.
It's
an East Asia. Okay, I'll give you the answer, but you don't get the points for this one. No points for this one. It's China.
I was going to say China. Oh man.
Yeah. And the reason I bring that up is because they have the one child rule and have since changed it to 2 children per household. And the reason is because, the impact to the one child rule is that they have a huge elderly population or population over 60, but not enough caregivers, not enough children to take care of parents, and not enough skilled labor to take care of the elderly who are now starting to flood the elderly homes. And so there is a huge shortage. So I think I'm saying that to say that your folks kind of wanted to make sure they didn't fall into that same category, and they groomed you from an early age. And so knowing that, I'm joking when I say that, but knowing that you were groomed, not necessarily to make sure there's no shortage, but you were groomed to make sure that you understood that you needed to care for your seniors. So how does that make you feel? And are you accepting of that responsibility?
It really makes me feel pretty good that they themselves were always helping people, and they thought that it was very gratifying to them that in helping people, and they probably thought that if I learned and was taught that same thing, that I might have a better life, because they say when you do something for others, it makes you feel a little bit better, or it just makes you, I won't say complete, because some people would argue with that, but
does it make you feel complete?
It makes me feel somewhat complete. It does. I would say it makes me feel that one less person has to worry about what they will do when they don't have anyone or they don't have any worries. And when you've got a senior with worries and they don't know what's going to happen, they don't know how they're going to do this or that, that's stressful to them. And if I can help, if that is gratifying that one person doesn't have that to worry about.
Right. So, we are carers for my father, that.
Yes.
And we have to do, my father has dementia. We have to do everything from personal care, meaning that we have to get him up in the morning, cleaned up for the day, feed him, clothe him, do all of those things. He's totally reliant on us for everything. So as a caregiver, what levels of support have you provided over the years for the different people that you have been involved with?
Well, for my Uncle West, who's named after Henry West, pretty much just looking out after, sitting with him at night, talking to him, even when I had to get up and go to school the next day. But he would tell us stories, and he would just, we'd have all kind of great conversations. But I just mainly was sitting with him, and then I'd help him, try to go to the restroom. He needed assistance with that and all that kind of stuff. And then with my grandmother, I pretty much had to do everything. I listen, combing hair. I had to comb her hair. We had one style as comb it to the back, put it in a ponytail, put a clamp on it, and put her hat on.
Okay.
When she couldn't, that's after she couldn't comb her hair anymore. And she would laugh and say, "I never dreamed you'd be combing my hair." And she thought it was hilarious. But a lot of times I get my cousins who lived around the corner to come fix her hair if we had to do anything. And my father, I had to do quite a bit, help him, to the shower, get his shower, dress and put his clothes on, toward the end of life.
Right.
Even started shaving him, just the whole 9 yards with him.
Yeah. So I remember you telling me a story. I don't know if you told me a story or if I had just spoken with you and you had had a long night and you had gotten up really late or early, depending on how you look at it, and had to go and do something for your father, who did not live with you, by the way. And so what changes? I know that you were considering some changes because of all of the back and the forth with him.
Yeah. My father had cancer, and it went into remission, and it came back very aggressively. And to try to relieve my stepmother, who was just at home, and my sister was there, but she's had her own set of health problems due to breast cancer. So she couldn't, and in a prior car accident, and she really, we couldn't put that stress on her. But I thought, between me running back and forth, I would get up, go in the morning, take my dad to dialysis, try to come back on the west side of town and handle my business, and then go back over, pick him up. Or this went on doing the doctor's appointments, and then I'd be over there late at night. So I said, well, I don't know how this thing is going to turn out, but I was thinking about what you guys did, and I said, well, you know what, I'm going to take a page from the Chapman family. I said, I think it would be more beneficial, because since it's mainly me, and others did contribute, but mainly me, maybe it would be better if we were all up under one roof, and then I don't have to worry about getting up early, coming from west side to Stone Mountain, going back and forth 2, 3, 4 times a day. And when we leave to go to the doctor's office, I leave, go over there, go to Buckhead, come back over there, come back home. I figure it'll be just easier. So I kind of spun the idea around a little bit. Okay. But, my dad was like, well, don't make it the plans just yet. We need to see what's going to happen. But I was considering that, and I thought that it would make a huge difference in I just thought it'd make a huge difference, and in time, mainly time.
Right. I know that you did not get that far because your father did pass,
Right.
but I think you were just on the right track, just being able to think that far and just say, if we're under one roof, it'll probably be easier for you, but it'll probably also be easier for him as well. So definitely applaud you for that, and just for doing that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I do have another bit of trivia. Okay, you have time to redeem yourself. Well, this one isn't necessarily. This is more of your opinion.
Okay.
So 32% of caregivers are male, which means that most of the caregivers are female.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what's happening. What's happening with your friends? Where are they? What's keeping them from getting involved?
I don't know. I think so. My grandparents, they had a girl, but she died early in life. But
Okay.
It was just two boys. My father had four boys. I think in a lot of families, they leave all the caregiving to the girls or to the women, because I'm just not sure. Maybe because they are supposed to have mother-like instinct, or they'll push it off, which I hear so much, but they'll push it off on the single daughter who doesn't have any children or husband. And so they'll kind of say, well, I guess she didn't have a life, so she can step up and take care of things. And that's sometimes, but I just think, go ahead.
Do you think that your level of care is different than my level of care? I mean, is that what you I just don't know what the difference is. That's why I'm asking, because you are a male. So is there some difference there?
I don't know. It just depends. My grandmother wouldn't have it any other way. Probably if my cousins were taking care of her, she would be okay. But she loved the idea that I was taking care of her, that my father at that time was taking care of her, and my uncle, when he wasn't working, he would come and stay with her. She enjoyed that, even when in the nursing home. She finally had to go to the nursing home, and because of a stroke, which kind of we got it, that was a little bit more than we could handle.
Okay.
But she had a male caregiver there by the name of Matthew. She responded to Matthew probably more than anybody else, and I think that's because she had only had boys. My music teacher had one son, and she looked to him, and even though he had assistants, and we've all had assistants in helping, but
right.
I think it just depends. I guess I learned my caregiving skills. I don't know if I was any different. I just know it just depends. And some people, I think some guys just have no intention. They'll, help pay, or they'll come by, but they're just not going to be stuck in the house,
I do believe that everyone has a role to play, and it's, maybe your role is not to get in there, with your hands, getting your hands dirty. Maybe it is supporting, financially, or taking them to doctor's appointments and things like that. So I do kind of get that. But with the big shortage, like there's a huge disparity between women and men. And caring for my father, when we have a caregiver, we've been doing this over 10 years, and we have had maybe 2 male caregivers. And during the time when we need that extra support, because, the lifting and all of those things, we could have used some males. So I just again, I applaud you, but I also want to appeal to, males to get in there and to maybe consider learning the trade, and it's on the job training, as we all know. So it's, there is no right or wrong. You do the best you can and you learn as you go along. So I would encourage that, especially in the field itself where you're a professional caregiver working in some of the facilities, helping out in that way, because there are so many that do respond to males versus females, surprisingly. But I've seen that too. So one other question around caregiving for your grandmother, because I know that you come from a family of carers, and you're traditionally taking care of your family at home, at their home. Was it hard to make the decision to allow a facility to take lead on the care of your grandmother?
It was somewhat hard because I thought that she looked forward to being in her house. We'd done everything at her house to make it comfortable, her colors, her everything,
Right.
to make it comfortable. But my grandmother's a rare kind of individual. I'm running around trying to see who I could get help to come in and help and all that kind of stuff. And so she says to me one day, she says, listen, it's kind of nice here, because one thing I did do is, since she had to go to a facility, I made sure it was one of the best and one of the nicest. And because, I just wasn't going to put her anywhere. And I wanted her to be comfortable. And the place was fantastic. It looked more like a resort than it did a nursing home and a rehab. But she said, I get 3 meals a day here, and it's people here and all that kind of stuff. And she said that you running all over creation. She said, I think I might like to stay here. I said, really? Wow. And I said, oh, are you sure about it? Yeah, I'm sure. So one day I went, and she said, I think I want to go home. And she said, I said, is that all right with you? I said, of course. So I said, well, I'm going to get things ready. Now, I figured she would change her mind. So I just went on my way. I didn't even go by that particular house. And so I went back. And that's the other thing that I think made her comfortable. We would go every day. My dad would go every day. I would go every day unless I was out of town or something. So that helped tremendously. But when I got back later that evening, because sometimes I go twice a day, just depending, and I said, well, listen, you ready to go? I said, I think things are prepared. And so she's talking about, oh, no, I'm going to stay right here. I don't know what I was thinking when I said that, but I'm okay. Don't worry about it. I'm going to stay right here. So it was kind of a relief to know that she felt okay there. Right. And I think it was because we went every day. Now we left in there, it probably would have been a problem. But,
right.
We went every day. Yeah.
I think that's a good point that you bring up, that if your folks have to be in a assisted living, nursing home, rehab, that's still, you're not off the hook for going in and checking on them and visiting with them and making sure they're eating and all of those things. You're not off the hook there. So I'm, really encouraged to hear that that is what you guys did, mm-hmm. and that, maybe others are probably trying to do those same things. But again, I just want to emphasize that because we hear so many stories, horror stories. So we need to hear from people like you who had a good experience and you supported the caregivers that were there taking care of your grandmother. You were still involved and making sure everything was okay.
It's important that family members go, because when the staff see you coming all the time, mm-hmm. Less things happen. They know that somebody's watching, somebody's, even when there were times when a couple of things happened, And I just, went around and spoke to them about it. And,
Right.
once I had to go to the administrator, but that's because, sometimes these nursing homes are short staffed and they use agencies on the weekend.
Right.
But that one time, that's all it took, literally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is good. Now I know like this is COVID. So this was pre-COVID.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what people are doing now and how they're navigating that. I hear a lot of stories again about just not being able to visit, looking through the windows at their people.
That's right.
But I feel like you can still and should still,
That's right.
kind of keep your hand on the pulse there, whether it's calling and speaking to the people that are caring for your loved ones, the administrators checking in regularly. And I think that will help make sure that your person is being cared for properly, because
Most
everybody
definitely.
is stressed, with time, and they're stretched because of COVID. So definitely encourage you guys to keep doing that if your people are there. Okay, so I do have one final little question here. It's not trivia. There is no right or wrong. But I have to ask about 3 little nuggets of information or tips that you would give. And I have to say, you're our first male on our broadcast. And so what tips would you give, not just males, but I do want to hear a male tip to encourage others. But what 3 little nuggets do you want to share with our viewers?
Well, one thing I like to share is that if you have an elderly or a family member who's going to need some care, the family should get together and decide how you're going to do it, instead of thinking it's going to be one person and let them do. Everybody should figure out what they can contribute, and it will. That's a good thing, because it will take some of the stress off of the main person, and then everybody has a hand in it. And the parents love seeing everybody, providing the care. I would also say that if you are the primary caregiver, try to take care of yourself, because it's hard work. It can get stressful, even though you don't mind doing it, but it does. There is a certain level of stress. Take care of yourself. Get somebody to come in. You go out. You got to take care of yourself. You got to go to the doctor, and especially if you're an older caregiver, you need to make sure because in some of these situations, as my family tells me all the time, that if you go down, the whole operation is down. We don't know
yeah.
The whole thing is. And, I laugh at it, but sometimes I thought about it the other day when somebody said it. I said, well, you know what? That's kind of true. And I was sick a couple of years ago and hospitalized. And the fortunate thing was nobody got sick the whole time I was sick. Nobody got sick. Nobody had to go to the doctor or the hospital. As soon as I got well enough to drive, it was the first appointment,
Oh, boy.
But, look out for yourself. And I think the third thing, guys, step forward. Your parents think a lot of sons, and they would love to see their sons on a more regular basis, participating, in the caregiving. It makes your parents feel good, or your aunts or your uncles feel good when you step forward. If you don't do anything but come by there, see us, sit with them. That's a form of, participation.
I love it. I love it. Well, Henry, I really appreciate you joining us and giving us your perspective as a male, and just really, really doing the impossible by caring for so many. Again, I don't know who in the world has ever done that. I just don't know. But thank you for giving us your perspective. And we want to thank our viewers for joining today, where we have real conversations with real people about real situations. So we will see you next week on Family Chatter.